Career Center presents Alumni Talks Season 3, where we showcase the power of resilience, innovation, and transformation.
Good evening, Trailblazers. Welcome to another episode of the Alumni Talks Season 3. I'm your host, Uni Marie Bonane, and tonight we will be graced by one of the successful alumni that is widely recognized in the tech industry. Without further ado, please welcome Mr. Thor Turrecha. Hello, sir. Good evening.
Good
Welcome
evening.
to Alumni Talks.
Thank you for having me.
How are you today?
I'm very good, thank you.
And thank you for being with us tonight. And would you like to greet our live viewers?
Hey guys, thanks for having me tonight.
All right. And to begin, could you briefly introduce yourself and share your personal journey in the tech industry? And what key experiences or milestones have led you to your current position in tech industry?
Okay. Well, again, thank you for having me today. My name is Thor Turrecha. I grew up in Cagayan de Oro. I am a product of, way back then it was called MUST, Bachelor of Science in Information Technology. And from there, I dabbled in a couple of things here in Cagayan. I was teaching for a while. I was selling computers for a while. I was a wedding photographer for a while. I love mountaineering, so I was pretty much a guide. You know, if you want to climb Mount Tibok before or Mount Kitanglad, that was the side gig pretty much. So in short, I was a bit confused when I graduate. I was just playing around, figuring out what I need to do. So I did that for about 2.5 years, and after that, I managed to get into a more of a semi-scholarship program in Australia, and I went there and studied for 2.5 years. So I took my master's degree. Way back then, I was fascinated with networking, and the course that I've found was more networking plus a bit of hacking per se at that time. So I was like thinking I'm gonna be the next Jason Bourne. So I was very ignorant as a young kid. So I took that, and after that I realized that if you have skills like that and you're not an Australian citizen, no one trusts you anyway because of, again, I can see what's happening in the network. I can sniff what everyone is messaging. So I ended up in Afghanistan doing communication program and for NATO for about 8 months. And there I learned discipline. I've learned to understand different kinds of purpose for career, and cut the story short, went back to Australia and started working for big enterprise businesses, bumped into a couple of investors, and we started a small business. So from a small business earning millions, we figured out how to earn hundreds of millions, and now I get to represent a group of people that makes billions, so using technology. So that was a kind of humbling start, where elementary at City Central, and now I hang around with some of the best people in the world and some of the most successful entrepreneurs in the world. And here I am still like enjoying time back in Cagayan. So it's a long, short, weird journey for me, but I think I'm on a daily basis, I'm thankful that I have been gifted with that kind of experience, and I wake up every day thinking what else I can do. So thanks for having me today, and again for letting me share my story.
It's truly inspiring, Sir Thor. And also, what inspired you to pursue a career in technology, and what drove your passion for innovation?
Now, Uni, that's a very good point. Like, it's easy to look at me now and say I've been a geek all my life. But to be honest, the reason why I end up in BSIT in UST or MUST before was that I was pursuing civil engineering in MSU Marawi. And on my second year, and that was because my dad was a civil engineer, and just a natural progression, I need to go civil engineering. On the second year, way back then, ERAP ended up doing all-out war in Marawi with Abu Sayyaf. way back then. And it was dangerous because on our campus in MSU, you've got like all the tanks and everything. So my parents freaked out and say, you go back to Cagayan and figure out something. So by the time I get here, the sort of school's already started. I'm already late, and turns out my neighbor is working here in MUST before, I think at the office of the registrar. So he said to me, okay, I could probably get you in, but pick one. There's engineering, you want to go engineering, or you want to go IT. And all I can remember is that I might just go IT because that's the only classroom that has air conditioning. I don't want to go sweat at engineering at that point. So I kind of thought, yeah. So I went to IT because of the proposition that it would be colder inside than becoming an engineer. So yeah.
All right. Okay. So I'm also curious, Sir Thor, what inspired you to start your own tech company?
I think there's a part of me that always yearns to do something more. Like, I was one of the lucky guys that when I started studying IT, it wasn't that hard to me. So whilst I was studying, I was varsity in basketball, I was varsity in football, I was swimming and mountaineering, and then I'm doing IT.
Jack of all trades.
So jack of all trades. And I found myself that I'm really good at tech. At some point there was this guy, he was our professor, dean at that time. His name is Remy Taga. Most people from MUST would know him. He approached me in the soccer field way back then and said, Thor, your batch, the IT batch, normally only half of you would graduate, half of them would fail and basically spend another year to graduate. So he asked me, he's like, you seem like you don't worry about your courses, you can answer these crazy questions on tech. How can you help your batch? So way back then, I'm used to dealing with teams because of football and basketball. And at that time I thought, okay, if we're gonna break the entire, so I think there's about 150 of us on that batch. So we're gonna break the team into half, and we've got two big teams that we thought, let's almost have a class after school and rent an apartment, and after school we would go there, we would drink, we would talk about our classes, and we would solve problems. And the idea was, way back then, not all of our classmates had computers. So that was my first glimpse of leading and helping classmates to pass an exam.
It's like a tutorial.
Like a tutorial, pretty much. And we were successful. Like that batch, we all graduated. So for me, that was the first taste of, wow. And I was lucky that USCP was kind enough to give me 13 medals on graduation. And I feel so proud going up the stage and everyone's clapping. But I still remember that nothing beats the feeling of helping other fellow classmates to graduate. And for me, though, that was uncalled for. I don't need to do that. But that's what resonates to me, that I want to have that freedom and that creativity to be able to help other people to become better versions of themselves. So that was then become as I chase that, I end up in the world of business, because if you're in business, you have the freedom to think and you have the freedom to execute. Exactly. Yes, you carry the risk, but I think there's still helping others becoming better version of themselves is almost like a selfish act to me. Like, there's nothing replaces it. When I was young, I thought my first million I would just buy a sports car and that's pretty much it. But now I would probably hire more people and train more people because of that whole thing. So I was not in IT because I was geeking out. I was in IT simply because someone by the name of Remy Taga taught me on how to help others.
You want to help.
And then it just becomes an addiction until now.
Aww, so remarkable and very inspiring, sir. And could you share a significant technological breakthrough or project that you have been involved in?
Man, I could think of two. The first one was when I was still at uni at UTS, the University of Technology, Sydney. That's where I took my master's degree.
In Sydney?
In Sydney.
Yeah, okay.
We have this project, my capstone project was to work with a bunch of doctors, but they're kind of engineers as well. So we were trying to get a blind man to see. So this guy, his name is Mike. He is about 28 years old. By the time he's 15, he got blinded by an accident, and he still remembers the world, but then he couldn't see now. So we have to develop a camera, mounted on his glasses.
It's very advanced,
Yeah, that was like 2009, and doctors were trying to get a camera and send feeds back to the brain, the visual cortex, basically at the back of your brain. Will process movement, will process objects, will process colors, and it was my job to convert the video feed, the 5 volts that basically goes through the camera, and basically develop a Wi-Fi technology that connects that bit to the brain. So we managed to get that person to see moving objects and just black and white.
Is it like vibration only, or
no? Like you can literally see. Like so this guy, because the way you see things, and when you're a kid, when you see a car, that registers in your brain as a car.
Yes.
For him, it's ideal because he's seen the world already, so he doesn't need to figure out which one is car or not. We just have to get him to see it again. So with these glasses, it just communicates back to him that I've seen an object, and the brain still recognizes that's a car. It doesn't have a color, but that was 2009.
Yes.
In a university setting, funded by Philips. So for me, that was the first time that I've seen technology being used to help someone. That changed my whole mindset of here, IT is just like you fix computers.
Yes, cell phone.
There you improve lives. So that was the one.
So amazing.
That was one story, and another one is there's a doctor in Australia called Dr. Fiona Wood. Now, Dr. Fiona Wood specializes on soft tissue re-engineering. So she can build synthetic skin, so when I met her about 9 years ago, she introduced me to a guy named Andrew, and he said, "Thor, this is Andrew." She asked me, what do I do? I said, I'm in tech, AI, data science, all this stuff. And I asked her, what do you do? She said, well, I specialize in re-engineering of soft tissue. I printed Andrew's kidney, and now Andrew has this kidney.
Wow.
So she prints organs that would be used by humans. And way back then, she wants to work together to, in Australia, bushfires, like fires everywhere, right? It happens every year. So people would suffer burns. And the issue is you gotta have to react quickly if you have that scenario where on your way to the hospital, you wanna basically profile the wound or the burn so that the emergency room would be prepared what to do.
Yes.
So she invented a way to 3D print the skin, and we kind of work a way on how to profile a skin using a camera with an AI, because skin has 7 layers.
Yes.
Very fine layers, and only Dr. Fiona Wood can see them clearly.
She's so amazing.
So we help her create an AI and design that whole thing. So I think those two projects are the ones that just until now blows my mind, and thinking surely we could do more.
Exactly, and that was nine years ago, right?
Yeah, this
How
is
about
old,
now, the
this is old
future?
school, yeah.
So amazing. So that's truly remarkable, Sir Thor. And we cannot deny the fact that challenges are essential for achieving success.
Yes.
What challenges did you face during the development process, and how did you overcome them?
And there's a lot. When you develop and you build products, every state you have a different taste of challenge, right? When you start, no one believes in you, no one will give you money. Even your parents will not trust you. So you have to overcome that by listening to yourself and spending too much time on figuring out how to navigate through that. When you started already, and there's a few people that now worked on that project, you now start to think, did I get it right or am I wrong? So you now to start having that kind of uncertainty, you become paranoid, and the paranoia becomes a challenge, because if you're paranoid as a leader, you often carry that, and everyone around you would hate you because what's wrong with my boss? He's just paranoid all the time. And then you become successful, you then have an imposter syndrome, thinking, why am I being praised? That people like Dr. Fiona Wood are so much better than me, and why would you? So there is no state in product development that you are free of a challenge. And I think the only thing that you can assume is that every time you wake up, you look for that challenge and you find the best challenge you can solve for today. And that just gives you humility really on how to build products. So overcoming the challenge is always reminding yourself why you're doing it. And if you get reminded of that every day, I think you could then basically overcome it. But the challenge will come. It will surprise you where it comes from. So I think, the way to overcome challenge is to expect it, to embrace it, to enjoy pretty much coexisting with it on a daily basis.
It's inspiring to hear how you navigated those challenges. How was your innovation transformed or disrupted the industry you're working in?
Well, this is the only thing I can think of is this. We have a team here in Cagayan. There's about 100 guys in Cagayan. The name of my local business is called Skunkworks, and the international business is Meld CX. Now, from a disruption perspective, we operate in the world of AI and data science. So we compete with the big shots in Silicon Valley, Tel Aviv, Canada, Germany, London. These are guys that have the environment, have the education background to be able to execute in a way that they could lead technology. I think the disruption that I think is worth sharing, and I think it would help our viewers as well, hoping they get inspired by it, is that a bunch of Cagayanos, the majority of these guys haven't been even in Manila or let alone abroad, be able to win awards at a global level. 2021, we won Paris Design Awards. We won 2 gold against 80,000 companies in the world in the category of AI. Now, for me, that's disruption already, because unfortunately, in this region of the world, we're only known 2 things. One, we're number 1 in child pornography and money laundering. For us to be able to create a name that says, hey, we can be a bunch of ordinary Cagayanos and still disrupt the industry, and people would start recognizing us, that in I think, forgot the year, but there was a time that we were showcased in New York. In New York, there's this big area called Javits Center. You can fit in 30,000 people in one go. And during that time, there was this event called NRF, the National Retail Federation, and it's the biggest event in America every January. So we were showcased there, and 30,000 people was basically looking at our creation. And there are people like celebrities, there may be Robert Downey Jr. talking on stage, talking about stuff, and we are recognized by Intel, saying that of all the innovation we've seen in 100 plus countries we've been in, we recognize that this thing that Skunkworks have done is great. The reason why I'm calling that out, it's not because of technology, it's how we have taken human capital, which is our team here in Cagayan, and put them in the right problem statement. And that's fundamentally what we're trying to disrupt, that it is our belief that if you take someone like a Cagayanon engineer, that if you put them in an environment where they would have an opportunity to solve the same problem as the guys in Silicon Valley, the guys in Tel Aviv is trying to solve, I believe that we would have a shot of becoming excellent. We're not trying to be number 1, we just want to be part of that whole innovation. So I think from a disruption, we get CEOs of Intel, big names in Silicon Valley to recognize and to pronounce Cagayan de Oro City because they have to present us on stage and figure out where are these guys from again. So I think for me, that was like our little flag waving saying, well, that's our own disruption that we can do that. So I think that is what resonates to me the most.
All right. Now, the tech industry is highly dynamic and constantly evolving.
Yes.
How do you stay updated with the latest trends and advancements?
You read.
Read.
You read. Like if you're in this business, you need to become an expert that you find time to be boring. Like on my way here, I have glimpsed and read a couple of pages from a book already. Like you need to be best friends with the literature, the book. You're gonna have to learn from other people because the more you learn, the better you can make a decision. In tech, especially in leading tech, AI, data science, it changes almost every 2 weeks. Like you've seen ChatGPT now.
Yes.
AI can write better than humans, can grow better than humans, can code better than humans, right? We have engineers in our office that's been doing development for 15 years, and ChatGPT can produce code similar to what they've got.
Oh.
So it's a different ball game now, and ChatGPT is version 3, 4. I have seen version 6 already in the US.
Oh.
So that's about to get out, and again, phasing out a lot of human talent. So for us in the next 4 years, the amount of change is probably equivalent to 100 years. And it's because of COVID, and it's because of the conflict of Russia and Ukraine, and potentially the unrest happening in Asia because of Taiwan-China situation. The rate of innovation will continue to increase. And if we don't recognize that,
Be left out.
we will be left out.
Yeah. Okay. Now, also, how do you identify new opportunities for innovation and assess their potential impact?
As you keep reading, you become interesting. And if you become interesting, people would invite you, people would enjoy talking to you. And that's really the key. Like if I'm in the US, for instance, I get invited to people that are richer than me, better than me, smarter than me, and I listen to what they talk about. I give you an example. Like these guys, when they talk about what currency would we use if we have a store in the moon? Bitcoin, US dollars. Who's gonna own that? They're gonna be US because they put the flag first. Who's gonna create policy on satellite-based internet connection, because that is not part of any country? Those questions they ask, and it's almost like you go around, it's like, Jesus Christ, these guys are thinking out of the box crazily. So you get to learn where the world is going because you start to become in that inner circle of global leaders and influencers that kind of understand where the world is going. If you keep yourself interesting, that means almost like you read, you understand, you contribute to the conversation, you become part of the conversation. You start to learn things that most people don't learn. And that's what I use to then figure out what should be our next best problem to solve, so that we could basically honor the talent of our team, that in solving that problem we can create value, that again I can compensate them better, and then we can contribute to the goodness of whatever community we're trying to do. But at a global level, we can participate in whatever direction we're going. So learn how to talk to anyone, talk to people, talk to people that don't even have the same language, right? So
it doesn't mean that we graduated college, we stopped learning, right?
yeah, marites, weaponized
Exactly.
marites, pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so that's a comprehensive approach to innovation. Now, can you share any strategies you employ to stay ahead of the curve in such fast-paced industry?
Speed. There was a book, I think his name is Jason Jennings. He said there, it's not about the big that eats the small, it's the fast that eats the slow. In today's world, you will become irrelevant if you're slow. So figure out how you can run fast, see an idea, and then ideate, come up with something, produce results. Because today, like, I'm never gonna be in this position that people provide respect and attention to me if they don't see results from me. In short, results becomes your voice. And me, having a camera in front of me and you giving me the opportunity to share story is just a byproduct of that. So to become relevant, it's a constant chase of how do I reconfigure myself that I am faster than most people, that I could produce results that people would recognize, and as a result, then you just constantly produce value that you constantly become relevant. In the past, at least, if you're a worker in the 1990s, you could graduate as an accountant and you will probably die as an accountant. Today, in one person's lifetime, you're likely going to change career 7 times. So it's not, security isn't about, I've been working here for 10 years, so I'm secure. Security is about the speed and how you could reconfigure yourself to become relevant in a new environment next day. That's relevance. Otherwise, you can see a lot of irrelevance. Like 10 years ago, I have a friend that everyone knows because he's the only one that has connection to military that can take, helicopter footage on in Cagayan. Today, with drones, that is irrelevant talent or irrelevant connection because drones are around.
You can buy a lesser price now.
Yeah, so it's changing. Like 3 months ago, I went to the US visiting Microsoft headquarters, and they picked me up on a car that don't have a driver.
Oh wow!
So it's like, the world is changing so fast, and I think that's scary, but it's an advantage for us Cagayanos. Why? Because we don't have baggage. We don't have something that we want to keep. We just need to leapfrog and basically become relevant into that situation. Because we don't have any baggage, so we can be fast. We just need to point everyone to the right direction, not focus on building a career on something that would disappear the next 3 months, 6 months. Focus on building your human capital. If you ask around, this is a funny thing, people would go to me and say, why you're not investing on land, Thor? You've got money, you should invest in land because that's, that you make money out of it. For me, I'm not even done investing in myself. When I was here at UTS, I cannot write, I cannot read, I cannot speak. And I have to learn how to speak, learn how to write, learn how to communicate, embrace the power of words so that I can become the engineer that I want. And if I stop investing in myself, I would struggle to move forward. So I think the cheapest investment today is invest in yourself. Don't wait till someone gives you a piece of land. Pick up something, invest in yourself, become a better version of yourself. And I think that's how you become relevant moving forward.
Okay, so moving on, what were some major challenges you encountered on your journey to success in the tech industry?
Persuasion. Money is always a problem.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're an engineer, you tend to be right all the time. Have you met someone that whatever topic you pick, they're always right? They're always well researched, you can't argue with them, right? And yet they don't have money. They're not successful. What I've learned is that it's not enough to be right. You need to be relevant and effective. So figuring out how to become effective in a world of business or whatever world you're in, because often the people that have the capability to execute are not the people that have the money to support. So how do you convince those two groups to be together? It's how to become effective. Like, for me, I've learned that sa barkada, right? How often do you speak to someone and you just agree on the topic because you don't want to argue with that someone? Or as a young kid because he's bigger than you, so you don't want to pick a fight. Or you know that he's got more money than you and gusto ka magpalibre unya, so you just,
Sige, okay na lang, yes.
you know,
oo.
so you could actually weaponize that talent and use that in business. Because you might not be right and the other person might be wrong, but if you can get your yes so that you can continue your journey, one day you will have enough results that you can start lobbying your own thoughts because you produce results. But on days that you don't have results, you cannot operate yet because you don't have money, you just have to figure out how to take the next step. Again, speed. If you don't move forward, you'll die.
Exactly. And did you ever face resistance or skepticism from others regarding your ideas or innovation?
All the time, every day.
How did you address it, sir?
In the past, you're scared with your friends that you think you're smarter than you. And then moving forward, you're scared with investors, right? We've got investors that are better than me, and you're scared with what they're thinking. And over the time that you've managed to overcome them, you go back to your own self. You start to get scared when you're alone because it is your own brain that tells you you're not good enough, don't do this. To a point that I start reading more about me and my brain, and I realize there's a part of my brain that if I'm about to do something that I haven't done in the past, or I'm about to be embarrassed, within 5 seconds my brain will tell me don't do it. So I think I've shared this before, I've ended up naming my brain Rick. So I have to talk to Rick every time I wake up, or if I'm about to do something that I am scared and my brain is telling me to not do it, so
Rick
I
says
have to
not
argue.
to do it, so
Yeah.
no.
So when someone would ask me, "Aren't you scared what people would tell you?" No, I'm just focused on Rick. I can't even get Rick to basically agree on me. Why would I expect other people would believe me? So again, it's go back to that. I'm not gonna open my mouth until I have results. Until then, I'll focus on Rick and telling Rick we have to figure out how to move forward so we can innovate. Otherwise, your parents will not trust you, your loved ones will not trust you, your best friends will not trust you, because even yourself sometimes don't trust you. So the moment you embrace that, then you'll be honest and you figure out what's the main thing you're gonna have to overcome so you can take that step. It's yourself.
In Filipino, we call it instinct.
That's it, instinct.
Yeah. So in what ways has your work in the tech industry made a positive impact on society?
If I localize it, those 15 out of school youth that we started about 5 months ago, they're gonna graduate on the 23rd. They're gonna have jobs. They're gonna become middle class citizens. They can afford helping their parents. That simple impact, I think, would have a lot of ripple effect. Already, there's a lot of powerful leaders, politicians that are zooming in to what we have done in partnership with the city, that I think it will continue to grow. It's almost inspired to get the mayor to build the city college in Dansulihon.
Yes.
So that's where it is basically. That's part of the whole program that we could bring that into the whole thing. So if we could do more of those kind of, we call it Spark program, you know, a little spark that inspires leaders to basically support it, that will change the whole thing. Because you know, there are kids in Dansulihon that are really smart, but they have to pay like 150 pesos to go study in Cagayan. No one have that money there. So if we put a school there and basically focus, again, going back to the principle that if you embrace who you are and where you grow up, you would find something there that's unique, that if you embrace that, you will become lethal in the world of business, because it only happens where it's location based, right? And I think that's what I always see as an advantage of developing talents where they actually was born and keeping that culture there. So again, I think that from an impact perspective, that is one of the biggest impact that I see. In Australia, we have built what we call the AI playground, bringing AI teaching to rural areas. And In Australia, this is a different problem. In Australia, year 10 kids would have an opportunity to go to NASA, talk to astronauts, and talk about Mars. Now, in Australia, not everyone is rich like that they can give their kids ticket to go to Texas and spend time in
visit,
NASA.
yeah.
So instead, we built a virtual world, a metaverse of Mars, that they could explore Mars at the comfort of their home.
Wow.
So again, it might sound like it's
But not using
social
the
problem.
VR.
Not using the VR. It's almost like a game console.
Okay.
So they gamify the whole thing. So again, there's many of those things that we've seen even in our partners that they use technology to improve lives, to educate kids. So yeah.
It's pretty amazing. Yeah. So how do you balance technological advancement with ethical considerations and the potential risk they may pose?
I always see AI as parenting, right? Like we're parents of the technology, and for us to balance it out, it's about educating yourself and adhering to values that you believe is right. And I think it's easy to create your own idea if you're powerful, if you've got money, if you've got influence. And I think to the viewers out there as well, there's a certain challenge when you become powerful and you have money, that it gets into your system and you become a dickhead. You have to practice being successful first, and I think success will come. And same with technology. The more people that practice good values, almost like pursue solving problems that would really improve humanity, would help reflect that into the technology. Almost similar to the way your parents did parenting will reflect on you. So same to us humans, the way we would become better builders, that would reflect on the product that we build. So it goes back to being human. How do you become human? In the office we have a no dickhead policy, that at the end of the day, regardless of how much money you earn, you're human first. So keep being human, and I think that would help you balance things out and become ethical on your way to, again, if you learn the essence and the essential values of being a barkada, those are not rules that are written, but kung barkada ta, they are
as long as
unwritten
we
rules.
enjoy our company.
There you go.
Yeah.
There are unwritten rules that you don't do, and it's the same with tech and humans. I think just using that. So see, you can learn a lot of what we do in outside work that you can bring inside work, and I think that's the value. Rather than you don't bring that and recognize that as you go in, then it's awkward. Like now you don't know how to behave. But if you can rely on the same way how you deal with your barkada, on how you deal with your office mates and your boss, it becomes natural.
All right. Now, what advice would you give to young individuals aspiring to make their mark in the tech industry?
Young?
Yeah.
Like these are 20s?
Yes, 20s.
Fuck up. That's it. In our business, no one would trust anyone that don't have a list of fuck ups.
Learn from their mistakes.
But almost like embrace that whole thing. Like a good example, the world that we live today is changing, and the problems that we're solving every day is changing as well. In the past, the problems that we're solving are problems that your managers have solved already, and it's your turn to solve it.
It's the same
thing.
Problem, yes.
Same problem. Today, almost all problems are new. So everyone, whether from CEO level to junior level, it's the first time you see the problem. So now, you will thrive if you know how to navigate and solve and approach a problem that you've seen the first time. So, if you're an A student right now, because you've read the book, you've answered everything before the class would start, and you've got 100% on your exam, you're well prepared. That's really good. From a preparedness perspective, that's amazing. But the world that we exist today doesn't behave that way.
It's not written in a book.
Correct. What happens if you're faced with a problem that the first time you've solved? So unfortunately, those people that are unprepared and almost like rough becomes the guys that become good in today's world because they're not prepared. They wake up late and they figure out, oh my God, I'm late. I'm not gonna get take. So they're late. They didn't practice. They didn't prepare really well. So they see everything, all the problems in front of them for the first time, and they're solving it for the first time. They might not look good, and they might, their parents might not be proud. But as that kid graduates, your day-to-day life becomes a necessary thing in the business world. So it's balance of both, I think.
Okay, thank you so much.
No.
Now, are there any skills or knowledge areas you believe are essential for success in the tech industry?
I think for me, reading is one. I have never met someone that is so good without the ability to read. Read, and you will read because you constantly become curious. And when you're curious, you just try things. Just become a kid in a fiesta. You just want to try all the food. You start with the colorful ones. Explore, try things, and find boring time, because you need to discover who you are so that you know what you need to pursue. And unfortunately, there's no user manual for us, so you have to discover it yourself. The worst is if you listen to your friends on who you are and then you stop discovering who you are. So be curious, find time to be boring so that you can go deeper into who you are. Read books so that you will never know what you like or who you are if you don't live in the boundary. Because everyone here is behaving not in our optimal state, right? If I would lit up this carpet now and this goes fire, everyone becomes superhumans here because they can lift things up easily and they would go out of their normal behavior. That's our superhuman capability that we work really hard to hide and we don't release them. So if you're curious always, and if you're living in the boundary of your comfort and you become comfortable in uncomfortable situation, you train yourself to tap into that superhuman part of you, that whatever problem you're trying to solve, you're likely going to solve it better than anyone else because you've learned how to tap that superpower. So constantly look for that whole thing. Don't get confused by people telling you stuff. Stop browsing Instagram for quotes. Focus on yourself and then bring that rock star out of you. And then I think life would be easier from that point.
All right, thank you so much.
Yeah.
And how important is collaboration and networking in the tech industry, and how have these factors influenced your own journey?
First, from learning perspective, we have this thing called network learning. You need to learn how to learn that way. Say for instance, I go in a room and if most of those people in that room are operators like me, they would average 5 to 10 books every month, reading, consuming, connecting with different people, and they know things. If I know how to ask questions and be able to get information that I need, I would learn the things that I've learned, but in a fast way, right? So instead of you reading the 10 books that I've read last month, you have a conversation like this and you'll be able to you'd be able to get 80% of what I've learned. And you get that in you. So I call that network learning. So network learning is very important because you crowdsource the learning and you then basically become smarter than who you are when talking to someone. So again, the trick as well is don't hang out to people that you don't learn anything. And as a result, you go out and you feel drained because everyone is just getting information from you. You don't basically get information yourself. So network learning is important. You cannot network learning if you don't know how to collaborate. Because if you don't know how to collaborate, then you'd be learning with the same people all the time. For me, if you put me in jail, you put me in business environment, you put me in church, you put me anywhere, I would figure out how to learn. If you put me right next to a dog, I will learn how the dog basically live his life because I become a practitioner of network learning. You respect the person in front of you, whoever living organism in front of you, and you find and craft questions that allows you to learn. So collaboration is key for network learning. Network learning is key for you to be relevant in this tech industry. And without those two things, you'll never be fast. And if you're not fast, you're dead in the water. So learn how to speak, learn how to be interesting, learn to be curious, and just put that learning cap on. These kids right here roaming around thinking that, man, I wish I would graduate, so I stopped going to school. What I've learned, this is just the beginning. If you really want to become relevant and effective and have a happy life chasing your goals, this is just a practice. You're gonna have to learn 10 times the way you learned at school when you graduate.
Yes.
And in
Adulting 101.
Adulting 101, yeah. Well, if mommy and daddy is not rich, that's the only option.
Yes.
But if you're, you would inherit 100 hectares, then probably not, not so much. So this message is mostly for those people thinking, how do I invest? And I don't have money in the bank. My parents are not rich. What am I gonna do? That's it. Pick up a book, read from it, learn how to become fast, talk to anyone. It's free.
I learned a lot, good sir. And it's very fantastic to hear. What are your future goals and aspirations within tech industry?
It's that's a tough thing to answer. It's changing all the time. I'm not one of those guys that figured out what am I gonna do in the next 10 years. My story is about, I don't know what God wants me to do, but I recognize what He is asking me to do now, so I keep doing it despite the challenge that I have to go through. Like a good example, when that opportunity to train out of school youth kids becomes an opportunity as a businessman, that is not logical because I don't make money there and I'm spending too much time without any return on investment. But I recognize that God put me in that spot, and I recognize that it is His work because everything is aligning, and I just have to listen and follow and wait until He would show something that I would recognize that it is His work. And then so it's almost like I'm doing something today as a practice for something that He will show me down the track. So you just have to be obedient, I think, at some point. So that's what I mean by, if you find time to be boring, you will find messages like that are hidden in plain sight, that instead of looking at it and say, what am I gonna do out of school youth program where I don't make money out of it? There's no benefit. And majority of my people would question me, like, why are we doing this? And as if we're so busy already. But for me, it's like, well, I don't have the logic, but I can recognize messages like this that I just gotta have to do, and I'm doing it now. So for me, I become a student there, and I just need to learn what to do next and expect something bigger would come down the track. So I don't know what would happen in the next 5 to 10 years, but all I know is I will continue to be a student of solving complex problems that would have significant impact. So yeah, it's a constant, a lot of people ask me that, difficult to answer, but it's okay if you don't have a dream. Like, people look at me, it's like, man, everything that I am now, I have never dreamt of it before. Like, I have never vision, like, I wasn't like a young kid thinking, when I grow up, this is what I'm gonna do. Just cross the bridge
when we get there.
Yeah, so I don't have a dream as big as possible, but I'm more of a heart to serve when the need arises. So I'm constantly working hard to find a way that I can serve better, I can serve faster, I can serve problems that have bigger impacts. But again, to the viewers out there, if someone asks you, do you have a dream? If you don't have one, then that's fine.
Yeah.
Just be curious, and just as long as you've got, find happiness. I think that's a better way of living life, right? Every day you wake up and say, what makes me happy today? And chase that thing. If it doesn't make you happy, then pivot. Ask the same question again tomorrow. So yeah, complicated answer, but yeah.
Okay, all right, and that's very admirable, Sir Thor. So lastly, Sir Thor, how do you envision the future of the tech industry and its potential for future innovation and growth?
There's a lot of versions of that. Based on what I've learned, I feel like most people think that technology will replace humans, but based on the patterns that I've seen, it's gonna look like technology will be used by superhumans to replace humans that don't use technology. So it is really important to recognize that old people, even I've got friends that are doctors, no backgrounds in technology, would learn on how to interface technology so that they become superhumans and they could actually become better versions of themselves. Now it's important to understand that it's not about building technology, it's about knowing how to interface with technology. So when you think of that concept today, I drive a car, most people here drive a car. Most of us are not mechanics, so we don't know how to build a car or fix a car. And yet we know how to interface with the vehicle so that we can go from point A to point B efficiently. I think in the future of technology is more about that. How can humans learn how to interface with super tech like AI and data science so that they become better versions of themselves and they become superhumans? And if you're a human right now and thinking, I'm not going to use technology, then you're likely going to be replaced by those kinds of humans. So I think the future is going to be that moving forward.
All right. Thank you so much for today, Sir Thor, for sharing your incredible journey and insight with us today. From believing in yourself, keep learning, keep moving forward and everything.
Yeah.
And your journey and achievements serve as an inspiration to aspiring individuals who are looking to make their mark in the tech industry. And we appreciate your time and expertise.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Now, before we wrap up, I want to remind all our viewers about the incredible resources and support available at the USCP Career Center. Whether you're a student, alumni, or professional seeking career guidance, the Career Center is here to assist you on your path to success. Make sure to follow us on Facebook at USCP's Career Center and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more career advice, alumni stories, and upcoming episodes of Alumni Talks. You can also visit our website at www.usdp.edu.ph/career center to access a wealth of career resources, job listing, and networking opportunities. Remember, your career journey is a continuous evolution, and the USCP Career Center is here to guide and empower you every step of the way. Keep striving, keep growing, and keep reaching your dreams. Thank you for joining us today, and join us next time as we continue to explore the remarkable journeys of our accomplished alumni. Until then, keep striving to create a positive impact in the world. Good night, Trailblazers! Please join me in welcoming Mr. Carl Dominic Fajardo.
But actually, I have 3 failed businesses and another 5 business partnerships that I've failed. There were failures that I was depressed from. Time and time again, I've failed publicly. Just like a marathon, there will be a lot of photographers, and especially on the finish line, there will be a lot of cheers. But 90% of the time of the marathon, you'll be running. You'll be alone. Nobody is cheering for you. Fail fast and fail forward.